Welcome back. As we said, our bureaucrats going to be under review now. If they thought that they had left exam nerves behind when they entered the civil services, this time they're in for a rude shock. The Department of Personnel has decided to review the work of all bureaucrats who've either finished 30 years in service or are above the age of 50. If they're found wanting, they'll be asked to resign within 3 months. But what will this implementation look like? Will it make our bureaucrats more efficient, more responsible, or is this just going to be another failed exercise at creating a work ethic in the bureaucracy? Joining me, Shazia Ilmi staying on for some time with us in the studio, senior journalist Ajoy Bose and former bureaucrat Amitabh Pandey joining us as well. I want to ask you, Mr. Pandey, to start with. One of the things that they have said is that according to this order, I'm going to read it out from here, the services of officials who are no longer useful to the administration. It seems like a rather wide canvas. How do you define and decide what's useful, who's useful? What do you think this will lead to?
I have absolutely no idea. But I think this is the first signs of nervousness and frustration on the part of a government. That when a government is not seen as performing, when it is not living up to expectations, it begins this blame game, trying to prepare the ground for shifting the blame to bureaucracy. This is, I think, the first sign of that now beginning to happen. Things are not happening on the ground. Things are not being delivered. Expectations were raised sky high. Things haven't happened according to their expectations. So therefore, now start preparing the ground to say, look, we did everything we wanted to, but it's now the bureaucracy is inefficient, and let's get them back into shape.
Okay.
It's a huge demotivator.
It's a huge demotivator. Yeah. It's not going to energize the bureaucracy to work harder and make sure they pass these reviews?
No, it's going to, bureaucracy is at best self-motivated when people want to do things because it's good to do things. When the moment you start telling them that, oh, you're not doing what you should be doing. Well, if you do what you should be doing, you end up with the CBI. If you don't do what you should be doing, you end up as cabinet secretary.
Well, even the issue of being with the CBI, being under sort of investigation with the CBI above the post of joint secretary, the Supreme Court had to actually intervene and tell the bureaucracy that they were going to be also open to those kinds of investigations, separate set of rules. Ajoy Bose, I want you to come in on this actually, because Amitabh Pandey is saying that it's a demotivator. It shows that the government is trying to shift the blame. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, there's nothing fundamentally wrong in a performance assessment.
Review. Yeah. We have to do
after all, after all, it happens in the corporate sector, and I don't see why the bureaucracy should not be subjected to this kind of thing. See, unfortunately, in India, successive governments, whenever they've tried to do this kind of thing with the bureaucracy, and the kind of things I'm hearing about this new thing, is that it's never really thought through in a proper manner, and it's not implemented properly. And all it does, it sets the back up of the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy already is a little confused about this government. My feedback from my friends in the bureaucracy is that they're a little confused about what's going on. If you do this sort of thing, and what is expected of them, the systems, obviously, the cabinet system is not working the way it did. So, what I mean to say that why do you want a resentful bureaucracy? It will make even things more difficult for the government. So, in a sense, what
he's saying about demotivating is
you have a performance assessment, but think it through.
We are being joined by Shaina NC of the BJP and Pawan Verma of the JDU as well, also a former diplomat, Mr. Verma. But Shaina, I want to come to you first because, Ajoy Bose is making this point about how the message from government to the bureaucracy is slightly confusing. We also remember a time when Prime Minister Modi actually told bureaucrats, don't be robots, you must make sure you have time for a life outside the bureaucracy. You want that he wanted energized and energetic bureaucracy, not people burdened by the number of files on their desk. Now, if you take that argument and you say that, okay, don't look at these files, but you're going to be under review for not having done your work, isn't that a bit of a contradiction?
Not at all. Please understand the reference to context. We talk on one level about cleansing our system. We talk about efficiency. But at the same time, if there's somebody who's extremely lackadaisical, why shouldn't we be pulling them up? I mean, you have over 45 lakh government employees, all stratas from Group A officers percolating down. Now, if we feel that there is a certain question vis-a-vis integrity of an officer, so to say, why shouldn't there be the Chief Election Commissioner, the Vigilance Commissioner checking on these particular cases? Why shouldn't it be that senior bureaucrats monitor the progress report of the junior bureaucrats? You have corporates which run professionally, and the mantra has always been perform or perish. Why can't it be the same for the bureaucracy? And if you see 60 years of our country's functioning, the bureaucracy has had a crucial role, and that role of performance is something which will always be saluted. But if it is about non-performance, then that person must perish. And the only way to get this competitive spirit is by having these review checks and to keep everyone on their toes and to absolutely have the same prerogative for government officials, which includes bureaucrats, includes elected representatives and the entire gamut. Are we talking about a road to progress, or are we going to constantly be playing this cautious game?
All right, Pavan Verma, come in on this, because you know, there is validity in this. There should be nothing wrong. People shouldn't be afraid of performance assessments unless they haven't actually done the work that's been assigned to them. Why do you agree with our guests here that it could be a demotivating force for the bureaucracy, this kind of a review? Or what's your view on this?
Maya, first of all, I am not going to discuss this subject from a political prism.
Yeah.
There are two contradictory pulls when you discuss this particular scenario, this new proposal. One is that traditionally bureaucrats have been provided security of tenure, not so as to ensure their inefficiency, but to insulate them from extraneous and often unnecessary pressure, especially emanating from political quarters. In other words, it's a covenanted service. I was a member of the Foreign Service. I could be transferred to another job, but I could not be arbitrarily removed
from service
or just asked to resign because I did not please my political masters or did not toe the line. So that kind of security to a bureaucrat is also essential in order to ensure a free and fair machinery by which, irrespective of political affiliations, bureaucrats deliver. Now, as against that, there is the counter pull of efficiency. Bureaucrats must perform. My question to you is that there is already a system of review. An annual confidential report is written. Perhaps you could think of measures by which to improve that, make that more objective, more impartial, and more standardized in order, I'll take 10 seconds more, in order to disallow a great deal of subjectivity or the whimsical element coming in, or the vindictive element coming in these appraisals. To strengthen that system. But if you have a Damocles sword hanging over a bureaucrat, that after the age of 50, you can be just retired, it can happen so much these days because bureaucrats may not toe the political line. Because they may say that according to my conscience, this is not the right thing to do.